Greetings and Merry Christmas. We march on with our final week of 2024 right here on the Steve Deace Show. I am Steve Deace with Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre. We're brought to you by our friends over at Preborn. And the last few years, our partnership with Preborn, y'all have been so incredibly generous. You've helped create success stories like Deanna in a difficult marriage, thinking she just didn't have room for another baby. In fact, it was just giving her great anxiety. The prospect of it. She already had multiple children, 8, in fact, in a difficult marriage. She even tried to order the abortion pill. Somehow, providentially perhaps, it never actually arrived. She finds herself in a preborn clinic, unsure of what to do. She sees the sonogram of her baby and realizes she cannot murder her own child. And that's just one example of the success stories that this partnership has produced between ourselves, that's really you guys, and Preborn. Let's have tens of thousands more. If you want to make a tax-deductible donation today, I know a lot of us are looking at year-end giving. Few causes better than the cause of life. Make that tax-deductible donation today at preborn.com/Steve. Again, that's preborn.com/Steve. Once again, preborn.com/Steve. And then do not forget, the new movie Homestead is coming out in theaters for Christmas. It'll be here December the 20th. In fact, if you get your tickets, you pre-order them right now at angel.com/Steve, you will get entered into a $300,000 sweepstakes. That includes a Bitcoin, which pretty soon might be worth more than that all by itself. A fully furnished tiny home from BoxHouse, a custom Polaris OHV from Sparks Motors, and everything else that you'd need to start your own homestead. Neil McDonough leads a well-acted cast about what happens once a nuclear blast goes off in LA and destabilizes the West Coast and the U.S. government. Well-acted, and I think it's worth your time. I think you'll enjoy it. Go to angel.com/Steve to pre-order your tickets today and get entered into that sweepstakes at angel.com/Steve. All right, coming up on today's show, we're going to play an old school round of fake news or not, courtesy of the drones. We're going to play it off with the drones. Also, and I knew I was going to do this, I forgot my iPad where I have that subscription for that Pop Culture Tuesday story, but I think I can remember most of it, all right, off the top of my head, because that's kind of how I roll. So for Pop Culture Tuesday, Todd, you probably watched some of the Lions-Packers game a couple weeks ago on a Thursday night, right? When they played?
I caught like a half of it. Yeah, okay. I'm trying to remember.
Did you see what happened in the pregame? Where your coach got into it with a fan who's holding the flag?
Oh, no.
You didn't see this?
No.
All right. Well, there's a story out about that fan, okay? And I'm not going to say any more. I'm just going to set it up and we'll talk about it later for Pop Culture Tuesday. I think you might find it fascinating, all right? At the bottom of this hour, we're going to talk to a businessman. He got targeted for using his own business to promote Trump 2024. So how is he responding? Well, he's now going to run for Congress. So we'll talk to him about that here at the bottom of the hour. But until then, here's Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by Terror in Madison. Yesterday morning, 15-year-old Natalie Rupnow, a student at Abundant Life Christian School in Madison, Wisconsin, brought a gun to class, murdered 2 people, 1 student, 1 staff, and injured several others before turning the gun on herself and committing suicide. A manifesto purportedly belonging to Rupnow circulated on social media yesterday afternoon, where she described her hatred of humanity and men in particular, an extremely rough life at home, particularly with her father, and bullying at school. Unlike the assassination attempts against President Trump and the successful assassination of the United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson, the Biden administration and Democrats everywhere predictably used this tragedy once again to call for gun grabbing. Moving on, Judge Merchan in the Trump hush money hoax case says presidential immunity does not protect Trump from sentencing, and the case will go on. Trump held a press conference at Mar-a-Lago yesterday where he said he's going to sue Ann Seltzer in the Des Moines Register for election interference.
And then she brought it down very smartly to 4 a couple of weeks before. And everyone said, wow, that's amazing. He's only up by 4 points. Then she brought it down to where it was down by 3 or 4, whatever the number she used. And that was the Des Moines Register. And it was their parent. And in my opinion, it was fraud and it was election interference. You know, she's gotten me right always. She's a very good pollster. She knows what she was doing. And she then quit before. and we'll probably be filing a major lawsuit against them today or tomorrow.
He also said the government knows what those mysterious drones are.
Look, our military knows where they took off from. If it's a garage, they can go right into that garage. They know where it came from and where it went. And for some reason, they don't want to comment. And I think they'd be better off saying what it is. Our military knows and our president knows. And for some reason, they want to keep people in suspense. I can't imagine it's the enemy, because if it was the enemy, they'd blast it out. Even if they were late, they'd blast it. Something strange is going on. For some reason, they don't want to tell the people, and they should, because the people are really, I mean, they happen to be over Bedminster.
Will you shoot them down?
They're very close to Bedminster. I think maybe I won't spend the weekend in Bedminster. I've decided to cancel my trip.
Yet another Air Force base was swarmed by drones this week. Military officials have confirmed unmanned aerial systems, or drones, have been spotted near Hill Air Force Base. In a statement released Monday, officials at Hill Air Force Base confirmed the sightings near the Davis County Air Base in Utah. And finally, this from the Babylon Bee. Drones turn out to be elaborate gender reveal party. And that's what happened while we were away.
Aaron's Montage brought to you by our friends over at Deace for Hillsdale, and our friends at Hillsdale at DeaceForHillsdale.com are offering a brand new course for free, offering some really cool insights on one of the great stories in the history of Western literature. I got a nice note on X yesterday from someone who took us up on this offer, took the course, and said they absolutely loved it. All right, it's called Charles Dickens: A Christmas Carol, taught by Hillsdale professor Dwight Lindley. Offers new insights into literature's most famous miser, Ebenezer Scrooge, and that famous catchphrase, bah humbug, and what do all these symbols mean? They go through it through the course of this free course at DeaceForHillsdale.com. You'll see old things anew, rediscover the joys that we often overlook in our daily life, and get the actual meaning again to one of the great works in the history of Western literature. So DeaceForHillsdale.com is where you can go, FOR, if you want to take this free course at DeaceForHillsdale.com. And in the immortal words of Tiny Tim, a Merry Christmas to all, and God bless us, everyone. All right, a couple of things on Aaron's Montage. In fact, kind of just questions I want to ask. The gun-grabbing shtick talking points, and most of the time, nothing ever happens after this, okay? I mean, both sides have constituencies they have to serve. I mean, both sides have talking points they have to give. How many shows have we done over the years? Way too many, and we'll do many more. Republicans giving out talking points to things they really don't mean and have no plans on acting upon, right? Okay. So the gun-grabbing shtick after every one of these tragedies, how much of it do you guys think, because, I mean, they're just at the ready constantly, right? And then nothing happens and we just all move on, okay? In fact, the last time I think that we actually had to meaningfully push back, forgive me, over the last 4 years, I don't think there's been anything on the gun front. Has there? Am I missing something? I remember the last time we had to push back is we had to push back on Trump on the bump stock ban when he was president, like in 2017, 2018. I can't remember after which of the events, horrible events, that was being discussed. But do you remember like anything like what we saw with Obama after Sandy Hook? Any meaningful post-tragedy attempt on a federal level to actually put teeth to any of this? Do you guys recall anything off the top of your head?
Not off the top of my head.
Okay.
No, and it's because things across the board have gotten worse since then. Not in terms of gun violence, but in terms of insanity in general. And people are realizing, no, I ain't going down like that. So how much of this is just, this is what they have to do too, right? Oh yeah,
we're just checking boxes here.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
And you have to understand, if you don't, the tight relationship that exists between both political parties and the cable news channels that are most inclined to carry their message. It's all but symbiotic. I mean, there's a reason why Jen Psaki goes right from the Biden White House to MSNBC. And there's a reason why you see people go right from the Trump White House to Fox News or vice versa, or previous Republican administrations. I mean, there's beyond coordination and symbiosis here in these entities, okay? And that means, by the way, that you have to, sometimes the tail has to wag the dog. Do they do policy in order to fill hours of content on their platforms, or do their platforms do content in order to drive policy? And the answer to that question is, of course, yes. This has to work both ways. All right. They need something to talk about over there tonight. We were just talking yesterday about, Trump gave like a 45-minute press conference yesterday on a boatload of topics, just freelancing. And dude gave them nothing. No, we never saw that before. Which is amazing. We never saw that. We never, like when the first time around, and when we got Trump freestyle, we were like, no, right? Okay. Right. That was gonna be another appearance on the New York Times bestseller list for Jim Acosta or somebody, right? Dude just freestyled yesterday on a wide range of issues and just was on message, disciplined, stayed. he's Trump, so you don't want him to stand up there and just recite boring milquetoast talking points. You don't want him to do that. That goes against his brand too, right? But you saw a guy way more interested in being president of the United States than, let me see if I can kick hacktivist journalist around, because for a petty grievance for 15 minutes. He fed them nothing. They came out of that with nothing. If you're programming primetime on MSNBC tonight and you're going through transcripts, you're looking at clips, something that you can hand off to Joy and Rachel and your lineup to say, hey, this is going to be what we're going to fixate our audience's zealotry and hate on tonight. There's nothing there. There's absolutely nothing there. So how much of these instant reactions to this tragedy were just we got to check boxes here. This is political theater. They have no intents and purposes on acting on any of this at this particular point. Because
Trump 2.0 here has a plan and is going on offense, you are seeing a total polar shift. Your much of your career, Steve, is known for the Democrats are going on offense, and then the Republicans are constantly reacting. And they're reacting with this bag full of lame tricks. Steve, waste, fraud, and abuse. Stuff like that. Stuff that drives you.
Just a stupid GOP talking point, and they're never going to do anything about it.
Exactly. Look it's just totally flipping.
Yeah.
Trump is going, and they're like, I got to go into my bag for something. And it's gun stuff. Even though just 1 week ago, the same pack of people that are saying, we got to take all your guns, are saying, we need to execute CEOs in the street with guns. See, they're that's what Trump going on offense and having a plan is doing. Honestly, you are seeing, now, is it sustainable? We'll see. But you are seeing a total polar realignment. This is like Genesis Project stuff, Steve.
And if you live in my home state or our home state of Iowa, this is what the local media is like. There's nothing there. And so no one watches anymore, no one reads it anymore, no one talks about it anymore. There's nothing for us to even respond to. It's a non-entity. She just offers them nothing. There's no oxygen. She's chloroformed it in the room, and so there's no fire in the room. This is probably what it's like if you live in Florida on a daily basis. There's really there's no drama, no soap opera. There's nothing they can contrive, nothing they can concoct. Just a guy out there who's more machine than man, just ruling and reigning with ruthless efficiency. And we'll be back at it again at 9 a.m. tomorrow, right? There's just everybody just moves on. We're kind of starting to see what this would look like on a federal level, some of that stuff. Aaron.
Indeed. And that's very, very welcome, because you couple that with the last 8 years of just everything is dialed up to 11. He's literally Hitler. He's worse than Hitler. He's a rapist. He's going to line up people and put them in camps because he's a xenophobe. Just lining. Everything is on 11 all the time. And then you go from that to button down on message. There's less than nothing that they have there. Less than nothing. That's why you saw yesterday Joy Reid on MSNBC. You know who else was also Time Persons of the Year? They got nothing else. They're not even trying anything else right now. Well, I don't think so anyway. It doesn't seem apparent. So it's not only that we're on message for now, on message, on offense. You know, the continuing resolution stuff, the omnibus that they're doing right now, I'm sure Daniel will have some thoughts about that tomorrow. But you couple that, it's not just that. You couple that with the fact that they've tried to dial everything up to 11 for the better part of a decade, and this guy is still back in power again. I think that's a double whammy.
I've got another question for you. Let's switch to the drones. We're going to talk more about the latest intel and news on that next hour. Okay? So for now, I just want to ask a question. Okay? Does anybody have any reason why? I'm in his feed right now. And I mean, he is a prolific poster. A prolific poster. I am now back to Saturday. There's pictures of him with one of his kids at the Army-Navy game.
There's only one post.
You know where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
So I'm trying to figure out, help me to understand. Here's my question. How is it possible the world's leading technologist has almost nothing to say about mysterious fleets of drones showing up now in 3 different military installation air bases in 3 completely different regions of the country? The Eastern Seaboard, the Midwest in Ohio, and now Utah. How is it possible a guy who was launching more satellites and rockets into space than NASA is has nothing, and I mean nothing. There's one meme. I found a meme. Nothing else. Okay, I continue to go through his feed. I'm back to Saturday. And there's all kinds of stuff in here about technology and news. Frankly, he's had more to say about Ketanji Jackson's Rainbow Jihad Broadway performance. Which in a way, I'm kind of happy to see that. Okay, if you know what I'm saying. From a moral philosophical perspective, I'm actually, that I find that pleasing. But this is very strange. I mean, imagine like last fall, a lot of people I know around the country are like, man, biggest sports story, scandal, and everything happening in the country is your favorite team, and you're like saying nothing about it. Well, you guys found out why I didn't say anything about it. Because I was actually involved in it behind the scenes. And so I had to keep my mouth shut. All right, talking about the Connor Stallion story. Okay? But it would be like, I don't know, a massive pushback on an Iowa senator who thinks she's going to single-handedly derail Trump's cabinet officials. And we just came on the show here. We built the largest media platform in the history of the state of Iowa, is this show. Okay? So we just came on here as native Iowans on this show, and with the largest media presence any living Iowan has ever had is what this show has right now. Okay, and we just had nothing to say, man. We were even commenting on other Senate primaries, but we had nothing. You see how weird would how many emails do you think I'd get from the audience saying, dude, what? Nothing? You got nothing on this? Nothing. He's got absolutely nothing. I mean, here's a thread on Roscoe Filburn, a farmer from Ohio who the government went after for farming his own wheat in the 1930s. He's got a thread on that he retweeted from Mike Lee. I'm back to Friday the 13th. All right. Tons of stuff on SpaceX, tons of stuff on Starlink. Okay. I mean, what private citizen on planet Earth would have more wherewithal to give us information about this, who just so also happens to be getting ready to head up an NGO going after waste, fraud, and abuse. Okay, I find this to be a fascinating disconnect that there's nothing. Like, he's not even resharing information from people. He's not even sharing, because there's been plenty of fakes too. Right? And I mean, how many guys, I lost count in how many community notes on this drone story I've had to go through on X. People just posting fake crap they didn't know what they were posting and it got discredited. He's not even sharing that. It's like this story doesn't exist in the Elon Musk ecosystem. How is that possible?
Well, there's one of two answers to that. He's the exact opposite of there's nothing to see here. He's quite scared. And he's trying to figure out what that is and laying low while he's doing it. Or, the other, he's in on it.
Similar to why I wasn't talking about Connor Stallions last fall. So I use that example. I mean, if it was the biggest sports story in the entire United States of America for a month, it's about my favorite team, and I basically said nothing. Why? Because I was in on it. That's why. All right, which I couldn't reveal at the time until after the fact. That's why I used that specifically as an example, because that was one of the options I thought of. He's aware and can't talk of what's going on and has been asked not to. For example, let's say we were looking for a dirty bomb, or let's say these were test maneuvers for an extra-dimensional threat or the potential of a dirty bomb, okay? Like, let's say they came to him and said, hey, it's pretty obvious when your boy Trump comes in, we're going to probably end up pulling out of Ukraine. We don't know what the hell's going to happen there. Things could get destabilized. You see what I'm saying? And at that point, because he is on the inside of what is happening, because as the world's leading technologist, he would have the only people that would have better eyes on these drones than Elon Musk would work at the frickin' Pentagon, right? Mm-hmm. Or NSA, places like that, right?
Yeah.
So, or whatever the Chinese equivalent, the next greatest power on earth, whatever the Chinese equivalent are to those agencies in their country, would be the only people that would have better eyes on these things than Elon Musk would. Fair? Mm-hmm. So then that would be a reason why he's been let in on what is going on and is leaving it alone, because, you know, he's a party to the story at this point and can't talk. That would be a reason why, on one of your reasons. What would be the thing that he is afraid of that he doesn't want to address?
Or he hasn't. He has contacts. He's been let in unofficially. He knows what's going on. He knows the official line of things is utterly nonsensical and nefarious, and that with all his money and all his power, there are limits. And if he goes public with any of this right now, he's a target. Just like, I mean, if it's nefarious, I mean, he's still just private citizen Elon Musk.
Aaron, what do you think?
Or he's not concerned because Donald Trump doesn't seem concerned. Now, he's had classified briefings, no? As the president-elect, even before he was elected. Even before he was elected, he was getting
I would assume. So why didn't he tell us what
that
they
would
were?
be troubling if he isn't concerned. Like, how are you saying if you're not concerned about this?
That's very true, because that now opens up another can of worms. Like, what is he actually being told? Is he being told the truth in these briefings? Because yesterday he flat out said, yeah, our military knows exactly what they are. Exactly where they're coming from and where they're going. I don't know why nobody's actually telling this. I don't know why he doesn't actually just come out and say it.
What would be the reasons he would not? Assuming he's had intelligence briefings as the president-elect, and I have to assume he's been getting briefings since he was the nominee of the party. That's typically how it works. Yeah. Okay, so that would mean he became the official nominee of the party in July. So he's at least been getting in security and intel briefings since at least then. Not to mention he's the former president of the United States and probably has umpteen, contacts in that arena even before the official briefings begin. So what would be the reasons why then Trump would not just flat out have said yesterday at his presser what's going on?
Because while having those, he hasn't been actually given. The same people that tried to kill him and put him in jail.
They're probably lying. If they tried to kill me, you're probably lying to me.
Yeah, what's the shirt that you're wearing right now, Todd?
Yeah, this is what...
Yes.
I don't...
Yeah.
Guys, we don't know what we don't know. But we do know that they hate us. They hate him. And this level of gaslight... Trust the experts. We have no idea.
Who are the experts?
And we're not really going to try to find...
Yeah.
Guys, come on.
I told this to Todd off the air yesterday. I'll just say this now. I've wanted to tap out on this story, especially over this weekend, because online it was kind of this just, look how conspiratorial I can get. And then on the other hand, look how big brained I am because I'm not falling for the conspiracy theory. It was just becoming so much, just getting to be so much. If you are falling into the latter camp where it's like, I think this is a bunch of nothing. And maybe you're right. Maybe like 50 to 75% of these sightings are just mistaken identities or drones that are otherwise legal, just happen to be flying at night, something like that. I'm just for a thought experiment. There are a lot of elected officials in New Jersey who are really pissed right now because they've either seen them themselves and have not gotten answers,
right,
or they know people they trust who have seen something that just does not
line up
belong.
with a typical
Correct.
drone. Yes. So this came out just earlier this morning. The mayor of Belleville, New Jersey, quote, said this on the local Fox affiliate out there. He said, quote, "We are aware of a threat that came in through Port Newark. Maybe that's radioactive material. There was, and there is an alert that's out right now that radioactive material in New Jersey has gone missing on December the 2nd. It was a shipment. It arrived at its destination. The container was damaged and was empty. That information came from the U.S. government." That's the mayor of Belleville, New Jersey.
And he may be referencing something that I saw on Twitter that was supposedly, I don't know, debunked. It's just, this story is yet again epistemological nuclear winter.
That's why I think it is fascinating. A guy that right now is the world's best known technologist and truth seeker has said nothing. I mean, nothing.
Here's one other reason, and
nothing.
You just got done writing about it, but listen, people are getting more and more mad. Public officials more and more mad, and they're like doubling and tripling down on it's nothing to see here, nothing to see here. So it just seems like now maybe it is just, some dudes with drones messing around for PSYOP purposes back in your column. They're doing the emergency to us.
I've got people now sending me tweets from Musk at the end of September predicting epic drone wars are coming. So he was tweeting about this 3 months ago, and now nothing. Nothing. Nothing at all. Nothing. That has to mean something.
Nancy Pelosi is clearly running point on this. We have to be anally probed by the drones to find out what's in them, Steve.
Do you guys agree with me that this is a good question to ask?
Oh, yeah. I thought about this over the weekend, too.
I hadn't thought about it until an hour before we went on the air. And I thought, I'm going to ask this question on the show today. Because this is, like Kirk says on the bridge of the Enterprise, the first time he encounters the vengeful Khan. This is damned peculiar.
All you're asking
he's tweeted more about his RPG games than
it's a noteworthy absence.
Why aren't we dodging this?
I have to believe that means what you said. He is aware of something. He is aware of something. And then you can take the fact he's just proceeding his business as usual to mean that he's either what he's aware of, he's not concerned about, or knowing the face that he represents in this arena to the planet, he is really concerned and has to play it off like he's not.
All those feds marching around in khakis can probably also be sent out to just operate 100 drones clandestinely just to mess with people, with no nefarious intent other than to mess with people, to distract us for whatever the hell else they plan to do to us. There's a lot of bad possibilities here.
Evergreen.
Oh, there's a lot of bad possibilities here. That's the evergreen. Yeah. In the times in which we live, yes, that's unfortunately an evergreen. And I mean, I shared something with you from the current head of NSA, went on Fox last night. It said, we don't think it's a threat, but it doesn't indicate any purpose or actor at the same time.
Yes.
Then how could those two things be simultaneously true?
You're connecting invisible dots?
Right. We'll have more to say on this next hour of the show. Stay tuned. right, back here on the Steve Deace Show. Brought to you by our friends over at American Financing. So, yeah, interest rates are down a little bit now. And so if you've been waiting, biding your time, this is an opportunity to relieve maybe some of your economic stress with our friends over at American Financing. If you're a homeowner, American Financing is helping thousands of families just like yours who have been putting everyday expenses on credit cards to get out from underneath that debt by tapping into their home's equity. American Financing is saving their borrowers, on average, over $800 a month. That's incredible. That's like a $10,000 raise from work. And it costs absolutely nothing to find out how much you can save. And they are closing some of these in as little as 10 days. So there's still time to get something potentially closed here by the end of the year. So you might not have to make next month's mortgage payment. All right. No better time than now. Turn your situation around and give them a call today. 888-675-4090. That's 888-675-4090. Once again, 888-675-4090. Or you can visit americanfinancing.net/Deace.
NMLS 182334, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Well, we started the year of 2024. We always have a theme for the show for a year. And our theme this year was Dominion. Take control of that which you can control. And our guest today, Anthony Constantino, it's great that he's going to be one of the last guests of the year on the show, because this is a living, breathing example of this. And this is a guy that wanted to use his successful business as a means of promoting his values, particularly in this election, got targeted for doing so, and ended the year, did not wilt, did not quit, did not surrender, waved the white flag, but stood in the gap, stood up for what he believed in. At the end of the year, just got the Vince Lombardi Award in New York City for free speech, which is pretty cool to get any award named after Vince Lombardi, okay? And now he's decided, hey, you came after me, I might now come after you. I'm going to run for Congress. And he joins us now here on the show. Anthony, it is a pleasure, brother, to have you with us here on The Blaze. Merry Christmas to you. How are you?
Great, and I agree with you. It's really an honor to have an award named after Vince Lombardi, one of the greatest of all time, and a guy that doesn't know what it means to lose. He only knew winning.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it. So tell us about your company, Sticker Mule, and how is it that you ended up in the crosshairs of the culture war, brother?
Sure. I built a company called Sticker Mule because I love serendipity, and my company started on a whim 15 years ago. I was talking to a friend of mine very quickly who was in his 70s at the time. He got through his whole career, believe it or not, my co-founder, got through his entire career without using a computer, got his first computer, was asking for advice on how to use it. And I'd be asked about starting an internet company. He came to me the next day and said, let's start one. Jumped on the opportunity. 3 months later, we had a company called Sticker Mill. We didn't even know what we were going to call or what we were going to sell. We just wanted to start some sort of internet company. But we ended up 3 months later launching Sticker Mule. It grew very quickly, and some people know, but many people don't. I actually ended up being one of the first people to be canceled in 2016 when I supported President Trump, candidate Trump, during his candidacy. I actually went out and I bought MAGA Christmas ornaments, and I was giving them out as gifts, but they counted as a campaign contribution. So it was recorded. Some Democrat activists decided to use that to attack my company. So during President Trump's candidacy, I woke up one day to tens of thousands of hate messages pouring into our company inbox saying all sorts of terrible things. It was actually sort of traumatic at the time. We were 300 or 400 people at the time. We're 1,200 people now. And I decided to take it on the chin. I just took it and I said, look, I'm going to build my company to be so strong that if these guys ever mess with me again, I'll be able to handle the backlash. And it's not good to bully people because you never know what the reaction is going to be. So I was one of the first people aggressively bullied by the Democrat Party in 2016 when I supported then candidate Trump. I stayed quiet, built my company to be as strong as possible so that I could eventually maybe take some action of my own to stop all their bad behavior. So as soon as President Trump got shot with the bullet in Butler, Pennsylvania, I finally decided to speak up. I immediately endorsed him, put it on X. It went viral on social right away, racked up 12 million views. I then emailed it to our 5 million customers, and the internet exploded. After that, I got massive media cycle for that. After the media cycle died down and the rage died down, many of my friends told me to calm down and just get back to work. And I said, look, if I calm down, what's going to happen is it's going to leave the impression that the Democrats won once again, that once again the far left was able to bully somebody into silence. So I said, we have to do the opposite. We got to keep talking. We got to keep showing that we'd support President Trump in different ways. That I support President Trump in different ways. I sent out stickers, millions of stickers to people. But the biggest one ended up being that I decided to admit I support President Trump in the most respectful way ever by building a $250,000 Vote for Trump sign and putting it on top of my tallest factory building.
What was the reaction to that? And then you also took the fight, fight, fight image and also, from my understanding, made that pretty affordable for people to own that as well as a T-shirt, right?
Yeah, we were doing T-shirts, we were doing stickers, we were doing everything we could to support President Trump. But, the sign was the most entertaining of all. I believe it, my endorsement was the biggest social media news cycle by far. If you go into Google Trends, you can look at Sticker Mule and you'll see the explosion about Sticker Mule during that time was insane. The sign was the most amusing. It got a lot of traditional media coverage, but it was very amusing because I ended up throwing a massive party. People wanted to come see the sign displayed for the first time, so I threw a party. We had people flying in from all over the country, and as soon as my nutso mayor found out about this party, found out about the sign, he completely lost his mind. He runs around telling everybody he's an independent, but the whole community knows he's a TDS. He suffers from TDS, they call it. And he suffers from that. That's what I was told. And it was very funny. He suffers from TDS. And he hit me with a restraining order. He tried to throw me in jail over the sign. He went to a judge crying and saying, this sign is a public safety hazard. Well, and he had to protect the community from my very dangerous sign. And we told the judge, we said, listen, people like beautiful signs. They like signs. They're all over the country. People always like beautiful signs. They like tributes to historic American figures. We always like that in the United States of America. And also, most importantly, people know how to drive their cars. So he tried to throw me in jail over the sign. He ended up losing in court. The judge originally listened to him, and then the judge listened to us because we're a little bit smarter than he is. And
Anthony, I've known you here for what is it, about 10 minutes. You're pretty good at this, brother. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I mean, I have done this at very high levels and low levels. I've been at political organization activism and campaigns from school board to president. You, brother, are a natural. You are very good at this. The turning around of people's talking points, the counter message. I had to tell you, I don't say this very often, man. I am impressed. All right, you have. I can see why you're running for Congress. You have a chance to kind of be the exact kind of person they hate gets elected, as from what I can tell. As a matter of fact, which usually ends up being the kinds of people in primaries that I support. But I got to ask you. Did any of your managers, coworkers, or at any point anybody come to you? Because this is why a lot of our people won't do what you just did. The blowback, the fear of it, the pressure from other people that it's going to cost them their jobs or a relationship or something of value, so I have to keep quiet. How much of that did you face within your own company with this?
I want to say really quickly, you're right. I am the exact type of person that the Democrat Party hates. They already hate me passionately. But, I tell people the Democrat voters actually love me. So the Democrat Party hates me. The voters love me. The great thing about my company, I have 1,200 people. Many of my employees are Democrats. You can't build a 1,200 person company without hiring people from both sides. I haven't been political openly until very recently. And so just by nature of building a company, I hire people from all different backgrounds, and Democrat voters love me. Many of my Democrat employees love me. We didn't lose a single employee during this whole experience. I like to do a contrast to a company called Basecamp. I feel bad for making them look foolish, but there was a company called Basecamp, and the CEO of that company, he put out a very tame message saying you can't discuss politics at work, which I agree with him. That makes a lot of sense. We don't really discuss politics at Sticker Mule, but he put out that message and he lost half his company. So that's sort of a failure of leadership. It's funny because he wrote 3 or 4 books on how to conduct a business, and he was a big anti-Trump guy, but he wrote all these books on how to run a business, and he put out a tame statement. He lost half his company. I very aggressively, very strongly backed President Trump, and I lost absolutely nobody, I guess, because I have decent leadership skills.
So tell us about your campaign. You're running in the, I think it's the special election to replace Elise Stefanik, correct? So give us the information on that and how members of our audience could learn more about that campaign and support you if they want to.
Sure. I conduct my life based on principles. We run a business based on principles. In order to scale the company to 1,200 people, I write out my principles and I share them with the company. One of my principles is we're in business to solve the biggest problems that are within our power to solve. When you're selling stickers, your problem set's a little different than if you're in politics. But as soon as a bullet hit President Trump, I said the biggest problem that's in my power to solve is what I called anti-Trump hate. And I wanted to do everything I could to try to stop that. Most of it was based in hoaxes and nonsense. And so I did everything I could to try to stop that, resulting in a landslide re-election of President Trump. I think that problem's now completely solved, you could say. It's very silly now to be a Trump hater, given that he won a landslide victory on behalf of all Americans. And he really is a unity candidate with so many people from the Democrat Party now joining to support him, including Tulsi Gabbard and RFK. And we got 11-point improvement in New York State, which means a lot of Democrats decided to vote for President Trump. So the issue of anti-Trump hate, I think, is mostly solved. That's a very silly issue. The biggest issue in New York is another issue I want to solve, and that is that people are leaving, and they're leaving because of Democrat incompetence or corruption, whatever you want to call it. People call it both of those things. Probably is both of those things, but we've lost around 1 million people over the last few years because Democrats are either stupid or corrupt, probably both. But I want to try and fix that. I want to get people back to New York State. It's a bipartisan issue. This is why Democrat voters like me, because when they hear what I'm talking about, they realize I'm working in their best interest. Sign was my first project I did to try to bring energy and enthusiasm and attention back to New York State, and I think I was successful in that regard. And we got to bring people back to New York State. One of the reasons people left New York State is it's viewed as a state that's not safe for people from both parties. It's a state that's dangerous for Republicans. I was told as soon as I put my sign up, I was going to get in a lot of trouble. And again, the Democrats foolishly tried to arrest me over it, which is indicative of why many people left New York State. But I'm doing everything I can to show people New York State is safe for both people. I'm trying to encourage Democrats to stop trying to terrorize Republicans, because it's really not helping anyone, or it's even hurting their own party, because many Democrats are now voting for Republicans because their behavior is so abhorrent. It's a big word, but their behavior is so abhorrent that many people are now voting for Republicans because the Democrats are behaving so badly. And so, I want to get people back to New York State. I want to make it a state that's safe for both political parties. I want to make it we have to make it a state that's safe for people as well. We got a terrible problem, the northern border, with people coming over. I tell people I know the southern border very well. I lived in Mexico. I speak Spanish better than AOC. I saw her do an interview in Spanish. It's true. She did an interview in Spanish, and she was saying how nervous she was to try to speak Spanish. But I've done multiple interviews in Spanish now talking about illegal immigration. I can tell you I wasn't nervous during those interviews. The people liked talking to me. And so I know the southern border very well. The northern border is worse. Nobody's leaving Canada to escape poverty. They're leaving for much worse reasons. So we need all immigration to be legal. It's the most humane form of immigration. We got to make New York State safe for both political parties. We got to make it safe for people. We can't let criminals come into the state and cause crime and violence and all the other things that are happening. And we got to make it fun and exciting again. People want to live where the fun and the action is. And they obviously want to live where it's affordable as well. But in order to get it affordable, we need people to start coming back. You can't lower costs when everyone's leaving.
Amen. All right, final thing. And I like the fact that Ocasio-Cortez is catching strays on our show. I appreciated that as well. Final thing. All right. So Sticker Mule, you guys do custom printing, decals, stickers, things of that nature. You've grown the company amazingly. I want to see if our audience can make you have to hire another 100 employees. Okay. So tell us about Sticker Mule, what you guys do, and see if we can get our audience to maybe step in and overwhelm you guys here down the stretch of the holidays with some business you weren't anticipating.
Sure. The greatest thing you guys can do, I have a company called Sticker Mule. I like solving big problems. The biggest problem we're working on at Sticker Mule right now is helping people make money. So we just launched a stores platform. We built up to 1,200 people. We're in 39 countries. I actually learned 2 languages along the way. I speak Spanish, I speak Italian in order to interact with my employees. But we built to 1,200 people selling products. We now help you sell. So we have a platform called Sticker Mule Stores. Go to stickermule.com/stores. And rather than buying from us, you can go there and you can buy from other people. It supports us. And you can also create your own store and start making money. We have a lot of great people on the stores platform. We have a guy named Ricky Berwick, who I love. He's one of the funniest people on the internet. He's got a great store. We recently launched a store with a company, an internet show called Fish Tank. Some people know it. I didn't even know what it was, but apparently it's very, very popular. They sold about 100,000 $100,000 worth of merch on our platform in a month, and people love that show. And I didn't know what it was, but I'm a big fan now too. So go to stickermule.com/stores. Go support other creators that are selling products. We got a guy named Roger Stone on there who's a big supporter of me, and I'm a big supporter of Roger. I really like Roger. I'm actually getting dinner with him tomorrow night in Mar-a-Lago, but he has a store as well. Another person people know named Donald Trump Jr. has a store with us. So go buy something from one of these great people and also create your own store and start making money with us.
All right, so the website again is stickermule.com. That's where people can go. All
Correct.
right, and this is both also a place where you can get products you want, but also very entrepreneurial. And what you just heard from Anthony as well. So, I mean, if you're looking to build something, a side hustle, a home business, things of that nature, an extra revenue stream, or you just, I know we have a huge homeschool audience in this audience, right? And I know from being a homeschool family myself, homeschoolers love stickers and things and custom printings and things of that nature. All right. So you want to make sure to reward this guy who stood up against a bunch of haters and didn't back down and is building a very successful business. Stickermule.com is where you want to go. Again, stickermule.com. It has been a pleasure, brother. You're impossible not to like.
I would like to say one last thing if I can. I didn't get involved in politics to try to promote the brand, promote the company. In fact, I always get yelled at by my team. I don't even like doing it. So I'm doing it just to try to do the right thing for the country, try to do the right thing for my state. I live in New York State. I have no choice. And you'll like this. I already put $2.6 million in my campaign account. I like to have evidence that I make good decisions. So as soon as another businessman named Elon Musk stepped in and he saved free speech by buying Twitter, I went and I invested in Tesla when the entire media was trying to destroy him. I went and invested. I put $1 million into Tesla. That appreciated massively. So I used the earnings from that to fund my campaign. So there's $2.6 million in a campaign account. I'm not in it to grow my business, but if you want to go buy and support one of our creators, I really appreciate it. And that's the last thing I'll leave you with. Thank you so much.
You got it, brother. God bless you. Merry Christmas. All right. That was phenomenal. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
All right. Take care. I don't know, man. That might be the last guest we're going to have because tomorrow's a buy-seller whole day. Then we have our year-end shows. That was an incredibly encourable interview. If it's the last guest of the year, that was, first of all, I don't know how you don't like that guy if you have like a T level of, above fractional, number one. But that's just a dude right there. I mean,
forget just a House seat, like governor of New York. Let's start talking. I dare you to do better. I'm not even kidding.
And he's not even exaggerating. Remember when Cuomo won governor, one of the first things he said was they didn't want pro-lifers moving to New York. Remember that? He openly said that out loud. So he's right about that. All right, we're coming back, and we're going to play Fake News or Not with the drone story. Stay tuned. Back with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. And again, I'm going to give one more shout out, man, to Mr. Constantino over at Sticker Mule. Let's give them something to complain about this holiday season at stickermule.com, especially the homeschoolers in the audience. I know, I see you. I know you guys, I know how you roll. I'm still married to her, but when I was married to her before, she was a homeschool teacher. So I've been married to the homeschool teachers. I know how y'all roll. Stickermule.com, man, that's like right in your wheelhouse, okay? I mean, that was like if Ron Paul had like an Italian accent, okay? So stickermule.com is where you want to go. Again, stickermule.com. All right, Steve at stevedeace.com is where you want to go. If you want to let us know what you think about what we think, you can also do so via the stevedeace.com inbox by liking us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab, following us at Steve Deace Show on X, Getter, Instagram, and TikTok. And then finally, if you don't mind subscribing to our brand new YouTube channel, just go to @Deace Show on YouTube. That's @Deace Show on YouTube, as we're trying to start all over there with all of the censorship. @Deace Show on YouTube. And then finally, if you're a podcast listener, thank you so much. You're a big part of our audience. Please consider leaving us a 5-star review if you dig the show. Thank you to all of you who have. You can also hit subscribe or follow on iTunes, and that'll assure that every time we drop a new episode, it shows up in your feed every single time, and we appreciate all of you that have done that too. A couple of years ago, when we started working with Trust and Will here on the show, my wife Amy decided, hey, let's go ahead and update a lot of our estate situations and family choices. And she just came away incredibly impressed by how easy to use and customizable Trust and Will was. So if you want to uncomplicate your estate planning, deconfuse getting it started, find out why our friends at Trust and Will have an overall rating of excellent and thousands of 5-star reviews over on Trustpilot, and why they're used by hundreds of thousands of families, including my own, and counting. All right. So let Trust and Will uncomplicate the process for you to give you that peace of mind for those days that we never look forward to, but we know are coming for each of us eventually. All right. So protect what matters most in minutes. Go to Trust and Will, the word and, trustandwill.com/Deace, trustandwill.com/Deace, and get 10% off plus free shipping. That's 10% off plus free shipping at trustandwill.com/Deace. All right. You guys ready for some old school fake news or not?
Always.
We are going to play some old school fake news or not with several clips talking about the ongoing drone mystery here in the night skies now throughout the United States. We've had this predominantly on the eastern seaboard, particularly New Jersey, but now we had Wright-Patterson Air Base in Ohio. We talked about that yesterday. The story this morning, Aaron referenced, now we're talking, it's that Hill military base in Utah. That's now the third one that is confirmed, and we're multiple time zones dealing with this now. So I've selected a few clips. The first one is an interview almost in its entirety, but I wanted to see what you guys thought about whether the right questions were being prompted here or not. Watch this.
You know, this started as some questions, and now it's reached a point of almost insanity. You think about a United States senator who has to go out with the local police to look for drones. That's where a United States senator is getting information. We had a briefing from the state police, the colonel in the state police. He was frustrated. He had no idea where these drones are coming from. Not only did I call for a limited state of emergency and the FAA shutting down the airspace for drones, but also having the Department of Defense come in and answer questions. If the Department of Defense doesn't know where the origins are for these so-called drones, then we're in trouble. We always thought that if there was something in the air the size of a car, that the Department of Defense would know where it came from, what its origin was, and what its purpose was. Now you have a United States senator going out with the local police, to look for fireworks at night? That is scary.
It is terrifying. Like Caitlin just reported, President-elect Trump is calling for government transparency, which you are as well. He's saying maybe shoot them down if we don't get any more information. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I would leave that up to the Department of Defense. But how can the Department of Defense not provide information to the public? This is a shock to me. You know, I have a general belief in government, but this is taking me to the end of my belief that government is really being honest. Now, there's been some apparently top secret briefings, right, with Congress people. Now, they come out of that, and I heard Josh Gottheimer come, the representative, and he said, well, I'm not getting a lot of information, but I don't think it's a threat. So my guess is there is information, but they're holding it back. And now what you have is panic. Originally some questions, now you have serious concerns. And at the next point, somebody's going to do something stupid. So the Department of Defense has to come clean with the American public.
So to your point, the FBI says they have no evidence of malicious activity or intent in these drone flights. What is it that they might not be telling us, and why?
Well, no evidence that this is a threat. What does that mean?
Right.
How does that help an average citizen and understand? No evidence of a threat? You mean they didn't do anything sinister yet? Well, yet. Yeah, I probably can make that statement, and I have no top secret clearance. Based on what I've seen so far, looking out my window, it doesn't appear to be a threat to our country. Okay, why? Well, because I looked out the window. That's all I'm getting from the federal government. And every single person, Democrat or Republican, has been calling for the same thing. That's why I have some concern that there is something very secret going on, because how did the people with the technology have no idea, except it's not, if they're saying it's not a threat, it must be something going on that's real top secret.
Senator, have you had this kind of discretion from the government before when you've asked them questions straight out?
I've never seen anything go on this long. And why would the government allow the public to be so frustrated?
Right.
Why would the government allow a United States senator to be so frustrated? We heard this from both sides of the aisle. Now that brings me to the point that whatever these drones are doing, the government really doesn't want us to know. What that must mean is they're more concerned with us getting knowledge and being afraid of that information than having no knowledge and having all these questions. That's why I'm worried about it. It must be something going on that they can't tell us, because they are so fearful of what the public's going to do when they hear what the drones are doing. There's no way the Department of Defense does not know what's going on. We have not heard. Have we heard one word from the Department of Defense? Zero.
Unbelievable. And you are calling for a limited state of emergency and a ban on flying drones, like you and I just talked about a moment ago. The FAA has already imposed no-fly zones. The drones are still in the air. Nothing is being done. How would what you're calling for change the situation? Obviously, whoever is putting these drones in the air isn't really caring about these warnings.
Well, I'm not sure about that, because who's ever putting the drones in the air they're not violating the law technically. So if we put that in effect, we would see whether or not these individuals who are setting them up are bold enough to violate the law. Right now, why should they stop, assuming they're a private entity? I never would believe that this is a private entity, but if so, why do we need, let me ask you a question. Is there some reason we need drones that badly right now in the air when people are panicking? Shut them down. FAA should shut them down. Who are they helping? All they're doing is creating panic.
I agree with you. To that point, what do you want to tell your constituents, Senator?
Continue to put pressure on, and it's not even state officials. I saw Larry Hogan said something the other day. This is the federal government that's not coming clean. And I'm not one of these conspiracy people, but if this continues, you're going to see conspiracy theories that, in my judgment, are create panic. So come clean now. Everyone on both sides of the aisle is asking for this. And I'll tell you something, the citizens deserve better.
All right, that's New Jersey State Senator John Bramnick. Now, my opinion was, I thought that was the best interview I have seen on a somewhat mainstream outlet about this thus far. What do you guys think? Fake news or not?
That is not fake news, and it sums up my thinking, especially the last couple minutes there that I shared with you in the previous segment. He's right. Either the worry they have about not telling people is vastly exceeded by the worry they have about telling people and how they're going to react to that, because they'll realize that it's that bad, we have no answers, et cetera, et cetera. It's that, or, and he kind of tangentially alluded to this at the end, but this is more me, the drones in of themselves are actually totally benign. They're not run by China. They're not run by Russia. They're not run by Iran. They're not looking for nukes or anything like that. But this is the emergency. This is a psyop. How many, like 38 Fed assets were found officially now at J6? Right? Isn't that the number that just came out?
I know the number was well over 20. So
it's people like that, guys in Dockers now in the dark, running drones, not because they're dangerous, not because they have any nefarious intent, but to create a psyop, to create panic, to distract from something else. I think it is one of those two things.
And you know what's odd? You know what's really odd? When was the last time, what was the last day that we saw drones over New Jersey? When was the last night? Hasn't been the last few days.
Mm-hmm.
That's really odd, too.
But we're seeing them over other places now.
But we're seeing them over other places now. Yeah. That's really odd.
Could be a military operation where there's too much smoke in one place, so you do it in some other places then, right? Like Patterson in Ohio, Hill Air Force Base in Utah, whatever you're doing with these, the smoke over there on the eastern seaboard just got to be too much scrutiny. So you move them to some more remote locations, right? Is that what you're kind of thinking there?
Maybe.
And we've talked about it on this show a long time ago in a different context, and I can't remember what it was, but what if the terrorism is less about Washington, D.C., New York, the big buildings, the big population centers, and what it becomes, you have no idea when it's going to come to your backyard in the middle of it.
I used to proffer that if you really wanted, in the early years of this talk show, we were still, when I started this show in 2006, we were still, 9/11 was still fresh in everybody's brains, and we're still fighting the Iraq War and everything else. And I remember I came on the air one day here in Des Moines and did a show talking about, if I were the jihadist, if I really wanted to frighten the American people, and I understand the powerful symbolism of taking out America's greatest city and what those towers represented to the world as a symbol. And so I understand all of that. But if I really wanted to, because we weren't terrorized by that, we were actually galvanized. Maybe the last time we have ever been galvanized as a people, maybe the last time we will ever be galvanized as a people. That's a possibility, given the current cold civil war we're in and the trajectory we're on. Fair?
Yeah.
So if I really wanted to terrorize the American people, I'd take out like Kansas City. You see what I'm saying? Or Des Moines. I mean, I'd go after a place where the casualty count would be high, but it's right in the middle of a breadbasket where people think that they're insulated from this. I'm not on the coast. I'm not in an urban area. If I really wanted to do that, that's what I would do. It's a value enough target that I'd get the casualty count that I would want, but I would go to a place where they largely feel like they're insulated from this to send the message, we can get to you from absolutely anywhere. That's kind of what and then people told me, don't ever speak that into the ether ever again. So until now, I did not. Okay. But that's kind of what you're alluding to, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And it's chilling. Even if it's just a psyop. And now the actual physical thing is it galvanized us here in the very near term. That coming to your backyard is kind of what happened with the trans stuff, like all of your public schools and I pay attention. The trans stuff and how fast it happened in Carlisle, Iowa. Yeah, but it did galvanize a nation to some extent.
All right, let's get to clip 2.
Why aren't they being called UAPs?
Because we don't know if there are UAPs. We don't know what they are. That's what we're trying to find out.
Identified, of course.
Nobody knows what they are. We have to find out.
Senator,
yes.
Are these U.S. military drones?
We don't believe we do not believe they are U.S. military drones, or the military would have told us that.
Right. That's still right now the majority leader of the United States Senate, Charles Schumer, out of New York, using the term UAP. For those of you that don't remember, since disclosure in 21 and then the formal disclosure in 22, UAP has been the official government designation now for UFO. Instead of unidentified flying object, it's an identified aerial phenomenon. So UAP has replaced the UFO terminology designation from the feds. And he says flat out that we don't believe it's military, and we think they would have told us this if it were. Fake news or not.
Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry.
Fake news. I don't trust the military right now.
Who do you trust more, Schumer or the military?
Oh, don't do this to me right before the holidays.
Fair. Nice. I'm sorry. I could
say
not.
It.
You put a piece of meat out there and you asked to kill her not to go for it. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that. Merry Christmas. Continue your point. I'm sorry. Yes.
I just think, again, I kind of started to beg this question. Even if you believe let's just say, for the sake of argument, 80 to 85% of what we've seen on social media of these UAPs, maybe they're drones, are just mistaken identities. It looks weird. Maybe it's just airplanes off in the distance, a trick of the light, something like that. But let's say 15 to 20% of them are actually real SUV or small or car-sized drones that nobody has the explanation for. Do you really buy that the U.S. military does not know, has no way of figuring out what those things are? Do you really buy that?
No.
Well, if the answer is yes, that they don't, that is potentially the most frightening answer of them all.
Yes, goes back to...
Okay.
But I will say yes, this is not fake news just from this perspective. And your point is correct. What he's saying may not be true for all the reasons you said, Aaron. But Chuck, and remember, this is Schumer. Every time he speaks, it seems like he's lying, and he knows you're lying, and he doesn't even care. He's the guy, remember the picture grilling on July 4th, and there's cheese on the burger? It's all a lie, and he knows it's a lie, and he doesn't care. I just get the vibe from him that he thinks he's actually searching for the truth this time, that he's like, this is weird. I'd like to know what's going on. Is anybody else getting that vibe at all? Because disabuse me of it. He seems like the most earnest I've ever seen Chuck Schumer right there. Whether or not what he says is true, because who knows if the military is saying it.
All right. Let's go to clip 3.
You have the president-elect and military base commanders all saying that the Biden administration is not telling the truth. In fact, we had Mayorkas and Kirby on Thursday and Friday both claim that there was no reported or confirmed drone sightings over military bases. It's been widely reported. There was a major investigation in the Wall Street Journal for many months, actually for many years, of drones being over military bases. They then said today, Kirby, in that same comment, he said that they evaluated 5,000 cases over the last few days. It's inconceivable to me that they interviewed 5,000 people to figure out where they were standing, what time of day, where they were looking, to be able to dismiss all of these cases. Look, people do make mistakes. I think there's been a lot of mistaken sightings, without question, maybe a vast majority of them. But I mean, we obtained the conference call between the White House and New Jersey mayors today. The mayors are livid. One of them got up there and said, I had 2 automobile-sized drones hovering over my house, and they're making a lot of noises as opposed to a jet plane a very long distance away. So, I think it's a remarkable situation to have Trump demanding this. I think we can count on some transparency now.
All right, fake news or not, Todd, you first this time.
His assessment isn't fake news. I mean, the notion that they have tracked down all the leads to be certain of what we're saying is just a logistical impossibility at this point.
What would be the benign, innocent explanation for why we wouldn't care if a bunch of drones were flying over the airspace of high-value military installations, including causing one of them, Wright-Patterson, to have to shut down its airspace because by its own, when you play the clip, they have to cleanse the airspace, which means they're infested, they're polluted with these drones. What would be the benign, innocent explanation for why that's not anything they're concerned about?
I mean,
there's none. They're always, and at the very least, they're always trying to figure out by what they're doing, how they're manipulating us, what they can ultimately get away with next. That just seems undeniable to me.
That's what you're describing, gaslighting, basically.
Did you see this story last week? A Chinese national was arrested and charged with flying a drone too close to Vandenberg Air Force, I think it's Air Force Base in California. And now there's an update to this story. The U.S. government, this is from Fox News, The U.S. government is investigating whether the Chinese citizen arrested after allegedly flying a drone over Vandenberg Space Force Base in California perpetrated other offenses. Last week, U.S. Attorney's Office for the Central District of California announced the 39-year-old Yinpao Zhu, a lawful permanent resident of the U.S., was charged with failure to register an aircraft not providing transportation and violation of national defense airspace. But court filings indicate the government is continuing to investigate whether Zhu engaged in additional, more serious offenses. So that, in and of itself, well, we don't know who's flying these, but we're sure that there's no threat whatsoever. Mm-hmm. The same week that a Chinese national was charged with flying these too close to a military installation and is now being investigated for more serious crimes.
So go ahead.
I found my language for what I was searching for to try to describe, and it's obvious because what's happening here. This is Ukraine. Nothing to see here. There's a war over there. Send the money.
It's the most important issue in the world.
Don't ask any questions.
But no embedded reporters. We don't have daily updates. You don't see any daily footage of the battle itself. We don't have casualty accounts. We don't have anything.
It's reverse Wakanda stuff. And if you actually did know what was true, it'd be something like the thing they can't say, not only because they have no. The best case scenario is it would actually be Chinese or Russian or Iranian drones have learned how to infiltrate us like this. The best case scenario is that happened, and they're not telling us because they have no answers. The worst case scenario is they're in on it and they want it to happen.
So our buddy Dave Reboy texted me yesterday, Sunday, can't remember, that he wondered. And you made me think of this, Aaron, with the story of that Chinese nationalist that they busted. He wondered if this was China, for sure. But similar to how on any given day, Israel's just openly taken out members of Iran's high command. And Iran has to just play it off like it's not a big deal. It's not really happening. It's not Israel because they don't have the means right now to levy an appropriate response. And that would make them look even weaker to admit it, okay, in that culture. And to the rest of the Islamist world, that Israel, we're just basically their bitch, and they've got us on a string. They can just take out our people whenever they want. And so we don't want to admit that because we look weak enough as it is. Mm-hmm. At least now we can kind of look like victims, right? Okay. If we admit that we are literally just Israel's play toy, then whatever vestige of street cred we have left in the Islamist world just evaporates immediately and we become a joke, right? Because we can't meaningfully respond, right? And his theory, his hypothesis is he wonders if that's what we're doing, with that this is absolutely China, and we are not in any we are not in any position to meaningfully respond, and so we just have to just eat the poop sandwich and serve that up to our people and look like morons, because that is preferable to looking weak to the rest of the world and in the face of an enemy. None of the potentials here are comforting. There's no good answers to this that I can find. Nothing that makes you walk away thinking, oh, okay, makes sense. Anyway, back to normal. Nothing does. Just
as we were speaking, it was announced the House Intelligence Committee is going to be receiving a classified briefing on these drones today.
Interesting. Oh. Good thing I know a couple of members of Congress. Maybe I'll be burning up my text messages, see what leaks out of that. I don't think any of them's on that committee, but we'll see.
We are really getting to the point. We've had this conversation with AI and things like this. This is a tangent. Whether technology, broadly speaking, we use, for the most part in history, cautionary tales, but for the most part, the advancement of technology is a good thing. One of the questions that has to come out of this is, broadly speaking, with everything we have, is the advancement of technology now a net negative?
Well, if you lose your moorings on a moral basis, then the advancement of nothing. The advancement of anything is a negative. That's the reality. If we lose your soul, what good does it do to gain the whole world but lose your own soul in the process? One more clip. This is about a minute. Go ahead.
I'm a little worried if a drone the size of a car can come in New Jersey from the ocean, right, which I have legitimate reports, and we now are bringing a detection system in. It just doesn't make any sense to me. You had an expert on who said, well, it's the typical drone activity. Well, let me tell you, the state police in New Jersey followed a drone the size of an SUV The drone, this comes from the colonel in the state police. The drone turned off its lights and fled. Well, let me tell you, the Department of Defense needs to answer that question. Hey, I'm not a conspiracy theory person, but I can tell you this is not normal activity in New Jersey. People are worried. Have the Department of Defense do a press conference and answer all the questions. I haven't seen them take one question.
All right, that's another clip from State Senator Bramnick. The first one was from Saturday. That was from yesterday. Talking now about confirmed reports of drones coming from over the ocean. Okay. So, thoughts on that? Fake news or not, Aaron?
I mean, I have to say, not fake news. Doesn't the timing of this seem really, really odd when it comes to the timing of COVID? Because I remember seeing things about an outbreak in China, some sort of outbreak in December, and I figured by the time we come back from Christmas, it'll be all over. And then when we came back from Christmas...
Fauci did an interview in January. There's nothing to worry about.
Oh, when we came back from Christmas, airports are shutting down.
Yep. The emergency. Not only that, the time he says this is one of the first stories that came out, possibly flying in from some mothership or something like that. Then that viral clip that we shared yesterday or the day before of this guy comes out and says, and we now learn that guy's actually a Fed of some kind, or a Fed asset, the guy who builds drones himself. Mm-hmm. Well, his response to that mothership thing was like, that technology does not exist. You can't, the battery power to fly in, do whatever you're doing and fly back doesn't exist. Well, the status quo is the status quo until anymore. This is like the plot of Iron Man 2. Like Tony Stark is the first one who develops the technology, but then he realizes the bad guys also have it. Mm-hmm. You just mentioned Elon Musk. I'm thinking about this in a totally different way than I would an hour ago. Elon Musk knows maybe, a bad guy has... We used to think you couldn't have vehicles run on electricity like they used to. Elon Musk figured that out. Has somebody else figured it out like Elon Musk has, and now you can do this kind of stuff? I have no idea, but no one's telling us, and probably on purpose.
You know, I'm going to make an executive decision here. There's another clip that I just saw that I want us to discuss. So we're going to... to me, this is more pressing than Pop Culture Tuesday. Anybody disagree? No.
I can't even remember what Pop Culture Tuesday was going to be at this point.
It's not relevant compared to this. There's another clip that I just saw from a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee who was just on CNN just a little while ago. And I think we should play this clip when we get back. Aaron, I'll send you the link here. Okay. So we can play this clip when we get back and react to it. Okay. Yeah, I'm just going to say that for now. I'm just going to say that. I'm not even going to tease anything. All right. Because I just want you to, particularly Utah, because Aaron's going to see the clip here when he downloads it. I want you to see the clip in real time and react to it like the audience will. Okay. Because I think it begs a ton of questions as well. More in a moment. Stay tuned. Well, with such a sluggish housing market and yet home prices skyrocketing, a lot of us are sitting on vast quantities of equity right now, which makes us even bigger targets for scammers. And that's where our friends at Home Title Lock come in. They're concerned about scammers that can fill out a one-page document, sometimes called a quick claim deed, forge your signature on it, use some key information maybe they acquired through an identity leak or something on the dark web to make it claim that they are you. And before you know it, and you don't know it often until the bills start showing up, they can claim they own your property, start taking out loans of credit, lines of credit, HELOCs, and the like against your equity as well. That's why you want Home Title Lock's triple lock protection. It will monitor your most important asset for most Americans, your home, for 24/7. It'll alert you if there's any changes whatsoever to your home's title, and then it'll work really fast to restore that title with no out-of-pocket cost if fraud indeed does occur. So don't wait until you're a victim. Be preemptive. Get started with a free 30-day trial today, and you'll also get a free home title history report as well when you use my name, Steve Deace, as your promo code. Code is Steve Deace at HomeTitleLock.com. Again, that's HomeTitleLock.com. Get the 30-day free trial and a free title history report to get you started today with the code Steve Deace at HomeTitleLock.com. Code Steve Deace at HomeTitleLock.com. All right, this clip is from earlier today on CNN. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand of the Senate Intelligence Committee. All right, that's who's getting the briefing today, right? The Intelligence Committees from Congress?
It's going to be the House.
Oh, it's
Intel.
the House Intel, not Congress as a whole, just the House. All right. When asked about this, she said the following.
You're on the Senate Select Committee on Intelligence. What are you learning from federal officials? Do people know what these are? And obviously, I'm not referring to airplanes when I say these.
Correct. So we've had a number of these drone incursions over military bases, over highly confidential, secretive sites, over areas like arsenals, over nuclear sites over the last several years. And we recently had a 2-week drone incursion over Langley. We just had one a week and a half ago over Wright-Patterson. These are important military bases, and we need to have better authorities to be able to take these drones down. I don't think we do know whose they are or even what technology they're using. It's a huge concern for me personally, for members of the Intelligence Committee and members of the Armed Services Committee. I created an office with Senator Rounds and other senators, Senator Rubio, to find these unidentified aerial phenomenon, whether it's drones, whether it's spy balloons, whether it's any other kind of aircraft, and assess what are they, whose are they, what technology is being used. And that work has been reviewing hundreds of sightings over the last several years, and they figure out about half of them. Half of them they can figure out are aircraft or helicopters or drones or balloons, but there's half that they don't have enough data, they don't have enough information, or it just isn't something they can figure out. So it is a concern. We should be treating it like a national security issue, especially when it's over critical infrastructure like bases or nuclear sites.
Do you think the Biden administration is doing enough?
I want to do much more. I'm very concerned that the FAA and the DOJ and Homeland Security aren't doing enough to assess whose drones these are and whether they are adversarial in any way. I think when they say something like, well, we have no evidence that they're foreign operated or adversarial or problematic, they don't have any evidence that it's not.
Right.
So I understand they want people to not be afraid, but they should be as concerned as I am because of these incursions over our bases and sensitive military sites. For 2 weeks, Langley had drone incursions, and they was the type of technology that our radar didn't detect them arriving. So it is problematic. It needs resources, and we need answers.
That's the CIA, is Langley, by the way. I'm not going to say anything about my own thoughts. I'm just going to, before I ask you guys, what do you think?
Okay, this is all fake news, and that's the second time now in the show where we have a Democrat from New York sounding the most earnest I've ever heard them sound.
See,
about
I have
anything.
a thought on that, but you go ahead. I have a thought on this. Go ahead. All right, let me air my thought on this since you're paused.
Please,
because that's what sticks out to me too, Todd.
Here's
For just a second. For the first time, these actually sound like normal people.
Yes, I agreed.
All right, They don't sound like politicians. They don't sound like they've got a narrative and they're going to jam it right down our throats until it comes out the back end of the rectum, whether we want it or not. These sound like Americans. These sound like actual people. We might disagree with them on the issues, but they sound like the people we're living in our neighborhoods with. This is not how these people, Schumer the same way. This is not how they normally talk. We've seen what performative art looks like in politics. It's what people like Kirsten Gillibrand ran for president trying performative art, remember?
Yes.
Okay, we saw her in Iowa. So
remember how fake she was in the bar having a drink?
That sounds earnest. That sounds like a sincere human being.
Back during COVID, these were the people telling us, trust the experts, no matter what the experts say. Debate nothing. We are the true source of all news. If you don't listen to us, we'll go to jail. J6, same thing. Here, we're getting this. So either it's an entirely different thing this time, and there's actually nefarious substance to what's going on, and it's legitimately scaring them, or the PSYOP.
So it's a triple-decker, quadruple, centuple PSYOP. They lied to us and performative politics PSYOP. All right, and then they doubled back with the double PSYOP of then talking like normal people, so then we could manipulate us. These people aren't this smart.
No, I agree, but to the degree PSYOPs work. If you look at everybody is defaulting, including these people now having a very normal reaction. We agree on that.
I'm not saying it's not a PSYOP. I'm saying they're not the PSYOP. They are being subjected to to the same thing we are, one way or the other.
Yes.
They don't know more than we do, one way or the other.
So COVID and trans and everything has worked us out to everybody now is like, what is this? This is weird. Want answers, and the demand for answers.
They're breaking. This is the political equivalent of breaking the fourth wall, Aaron. All right, they're off script. They're talking to us like they're normal people. They're having actual conversations. Their tone of voice is even dramatically different. Yes. They sound like human beings. Yes. That just sounds like a chick named Kirsten from around the way, not someone doing woke performative art to get 1% in an Iowa caucus.
And boy, did she do some of that.
That doesn't sound like. Did that sound like Chuck Schumer grilling burgers raw with cheese on them over Memorial Day weekend? This is different.
It's also disingenuous. You mean to tell me that this has been going on for a long time? Why weren't you sounding the alarm 2 years ago, Kirsten? Why weren't you doing that?
Because there was woke performative art to do instead. But that's a valid question.
There's another angle to this. A Democrat's in the White House, and now a Republican's about to be in the White House.
Fair. That's fair too. Yeah.
But if we've been so worked over, and this UFO thing, nobody knows better than you, and you've made us look into the eye of it over and over and over again. If this has been a long con going way back to winnow people down to like, this is weird, we don't know what's going on, we need answers, we need to do something, and we don't care what it is. And we've been softened up that sooner or later, the emperor says, okay, you want me to do something about it? And then he takes control and he does something about everything.
All right, let's bring this to a head here before we get out. I got an idea how I want to do that after I talk about our friends at My Patriot Supply. All right. This entire show has been an ad for My Patriot Supply. All right. This is the longest live read in the history of the Steve Deace Show. Do I need to say anything more other than make sure you've got 4 weeks of prepared food just in case? All right. Just if you've stuck with us this entire hour, it can only end with us mentioning the 4-week emergency food kit to get $50 off from our friends at My Patriot Supply. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks, full 2,000 calories you need because you watched the last 45 minutes. All right, delivered for free as well if you go to my landing page at preparewithdeace.com. That is preparewithdeace.com. Stays good for up to 20 years or 20 minutes if you need it here in the immediate. All right, preparewithdeace.com is where you want to go. Again, that's preparewithdeace.com. All right. So Thursday and Friday, we have our special year-end shows, okay? And, I mean, it's going to take an alien landing for us to break what we have planned, because that's just part of the tradition of the show. That level of cataclysmic event is what it would take for you guys not to get the special 2-hour year-end Deace group on Thursday, and then our year-end review final show of the year on Friday, okay? And then tomorrow, we've started doing this the last couple of years. We like it, so it's kind of become a short-lived tradition, like an entire final Wednesday of the year of buy, sell, or hold, and our friend and colleague Daniel Horowitz is going to join us for half of that, actually. He's going to be here with us for half. He can't do the whole thing. He's got his own show to do. But after he's done with that, the second hour of Buy, Sell, or Hold, Daniel's going to be here with us, giving us his takes on it. I think people get a kick out of that too. So that'll be cool. All right. So this could, again, barring, Independence Day, which when you posted that this morning, man.
I know, man.
Freaked me out. okay, because I had forgotten about that. Yeah, everybody just watch all the ships just show up. Wow, that's neat. Open fire. Right, okay. Yes, all right. So barring that happening in the next 3 days, all right, the next 3 days of shows are largely set here on the program as we wind down the year. This is likely the last opportunity for us to do something spontaneous on the program in live real time in reaction to events. Okay. On the record right now, when we come back for our next live real time, not scripted, meaning scripted, not our takes, but like the show's order of business. All right. When we come back on January 6th, will there be resolution to this story? And what do you think it will be if there is? Aaron, I'll start with you.
No, there will not be resolution. I think in this day and age, that's probably the safe bet.
All right, then if your answer is yes, you need to tell us what you think the resolution will be. If the answer is no, I think then you should tell us why you don't think there will be a resolution.
Just big picture wise, because we get resolution to basically nothing these days. That's number one. That's the big picture. Number two, because of the nature of this, opaque threat in a land far away. No one knows what's happening because of the very, very blurry nature of this, which is that an airplane? Is that a drone? Definitely saw an SUV-sized drone over my house. Oh, there's another drone over there. Maybe just it's a commercial drone. It could be a lot of things. That's basically, to have this all sorted out one way or another would be Herculean. So I don't think that's going to happen in the next 3 weeks.
By the way, breaking right now, multiple drone incursions reported over Marine Corps Base Camp Pendleton, 1st Marine Base, to confirm drone sightings over its installation and facility as well.
My daughter's boyfriend was stationed.
All right. First of all, what'd you think of his answer?
Yeah, we don't get answers to anything, so no.
So what's your answer? The same?
Mine is no. Mine's less likely, but you guys have both pay attention very rarely when you two talk about this kind of stuff. But I've learned enough what a value bet is.
Yep.
Even if it's very, very unlikely,
but the odds are so good, you got to take a chance on it.
Good, yeah. Well, good enough that the payoff is. We come back. What date, Steve?
January 6th.
When's the inauguration?
The 20th.
Yep. Value bet?
Yeah.
Martial law is declared. And that inauguration, whether it happens or not, is highly suspect. You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
God bless us, everyone, says Tiny Tim. Sounds like Todd needs to enroll for the free course on Dickens A Christmas Carol over at Hillsdale.
I love your pregnant pause right there. You're like,
It's a tasty morsel.
It's a thought nugget for you. Nice chestnut there.
Our chestnuts roasting over an open fire. Yes, indeed. What do I dip that tasty nugget morsel into? So, over under 10% odds, you think that would be what goes down?
Under.
But you think but the payoff is enough that it's worth putting pizza money down on it, you think?
Come on, man. Look at what's going on. COVID happened. So, yeah.
I just want to reiterate, I've wanted to dip on this story.
It won't let you.
But it won't let me.
It won't let you.
Because I cannot stand hey, look, I live right by an airport and I saw a bunch of mysterious lights last night. I hate that stuff.
Merle in the trailer park got probed again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's what scares me about it. What if it's just a bunch of feds doing this with no benign intent other than to have some fun and make a lot of people look stupid so they could say, I told you so, it was nothing.
I would prefer that.
Let's hope that's what it is.
Here's what I'm saying.
I'm hope that's the most aspirational option presented yet.
More than anything else. And I I mean possible nuclear war, invasion more than anything else. The opaqueness and the dishonesty is what scares me and frustrates me the most, more than anything.
Let me tell you what scares and frustrates me the most: how honest Kirsten Gillibrand and Charles Schumer sound.
They don't know.
So if this is a psyop, this is above even the public symbols of sustainable government that we are given.
Yes, but so was
it's
COVID.
Above. Yes, but they were the instruments of the narrative. There is no narrative. What's different about this than COVID is the narrative itself was the psyop that people like us debunked. Okay? There isn't a narrative. This thing they've lost the plot on this entire story. It's when I say they, I mean people like Schumer and Gillibrand. We've seen run psyops on us before. There's not an open border. The shots work. You should wear a mask. You should stay home and save lives, right? They have broken the fourth wall. Deadpool is talking to the audience now. We're off script, man. All right? Deadpool's mocking Disney to the audience. Okay, and talking about how Kevin Feige has just lost his soul with woke garbage no one wants to watch. All right, that's what this is. They're everyone's off script. So if you're dealing with a psyop, I do not believe they are in on it, and that's the thing that scares me the most. So then, who is? Who is? Because it's not these people. They don't know. I really believe this. They don't know stuff. I believe that. I believe they don't know. So then, who does?
Well, that's deep state stuff. That's Ukraine reverse Wakanda stuff. I guess let's find out.
It's going to be an interesting few weeks, I think.
Can't believe you ended up in UFO land.
Just wait until all these people most of Americans get together with family here in the next week or so over Christmas and start talking about this to each other.
It's the emergency. Doesn't need specifics. It just needs angst.
I hope we're not talking about this in 3 weeks.
Romans 8:28.